Hi guys, and I guess this will be another review from something I call quick review, but sometimes they actually quite long. And so this one will be about the KTM 1290 Super Duke R, which I had the chance to ride today. There's a demo bike, so the local KTM dealership is going to do, or is going to do, like 2 demo days, Friday and Saturday. And so we had the bike, and because I think I'm kind of a good client, bought a new bike from them, and I've been thinking of maybe buying next year this 1290 Super Duke GT or something, a version with like a bit of a wind protection, not a street bike. So I wanted to try that bike actually, but we have not had the GT version, only like a standard Super Duke R. Well, not really standard, but it was a Super Duke R, model year I think I was 17 or 18, a recent one. So I took it for a test ride today, and I did a helmet video while riding it, and then I reviewed it, and I saw I need a lot of editing wear before I can upload it to YouTube. And usually what I do recently, I just do one cut and that's it, just start and stop button. That is my editing software, but in reality on that one it's not gonna be like that, because to test a bike like that you need to ride it quite differently. One, the government thinks you need to ride your motorcycles on the street, and there is no racetrack in Lithuania. Like there is one, but it's shitty and it's in a different town, so whatever. So what can I say about that bike? So my hope was to understand how it handles, what sort of a suspension it has, even though on GT it might be different a little bit, but just to get a generic feel of what it is. So, starting from suspension, this is where I always start, because I think suspension is the most important part of every motorcycle, because that is something which kind of holds your tires on the ground and keeps your ass from getting into trouble. So, that bike suspension is really harsh, and I think I'm getting it now. I think that's like a KTM/WP way of setting up things, which I think is wrong. So we set up bikes in a really weird way, what we think is right. In reality, what you get is extremely hard and a harsh ride. In some conditions, maybe that is okay, but for a street bike, as we are, 1290 Super Duke R is a street bike, isn't it? You can take it on a track, obviously, but it's a street bike. So for a street bike, it doesn't need to be as hard and harsh as a, I don't know, super sport bike. But even like with super sports, even S1000 RR, which I thought had quite a harsh rear suspension, even comparing to that, this is even worse. There are several problems. So obviously the Super Duke R, it's manually adjustable suspension, so you can shift it to be reasonable, hopefully. I didn't try that because that was not my bike, it's a demo bike. I didn't want to change anything comparing to whatever setting it was supplied with, so let people ride it as it is. But my evaluation is the following, again without turning the actual adjusters. The rear of a bike is really slow on the rebound damping, at least how it was set up. So rebound is really slow, high speed compression is extremely hard, and the low speed compression is not sufficient. I'm not sure about the preload, I didn't measure the sag or anything like that, so I just took it as is. So in the front, the compression damping is extremely hard, so almost no brake dive. When you brake, the bike doesn't dive. and I'm not sure, is it like too high oil level in the forks? Might be. Is it like a compression damping adjustment screw, low speed, kind of, you know, in too much? But this is what it is. And the rebound damping in the front, it's strange. Like when you bounce the bike without applying any weight on it, it feels too fast. But when you do it with your body on the bike, it returns too slowly. So it's not quick enough, I think. But not by much. So it's somewhere near where it needs to be. But rear is completely out, and the front compression damping is definitely not where it needs to be. Either that or oil level or insufficient preload. So I guess the only way to figure it out is to measure the sag and check the oil level and then play with adjusters. So the roads here in Lithuania were not perfect. It's not like in a computer game. They all kind of been there from Soviet times, so most of them, majority of them. But even riding them on those which just recently built is still not good enough. Because again of slow rebound damping in the rear, the bike is not playful, so you cannot just play around with it, and it's not fun. It feels like wooden, like you're riding on a wooden log or something like that. It's not like, it doesn't want to help you to put the bike from side to side or anything like that. It doesn't help you over, like a faster rebound would do. So with standard suspension setup, terrible, I think. Unless you're riding on a completely like MotoGP kind of level track, this suspension setup wouldn't work for you. And again, I don't know, can you fix it or not with adjusters? I hope you can, but I didn't do that. Again, it's not my bike, it's a demo bike. What else? The next important thing is ergonomics and handling. So let's combine those two together, ergonomics and handling. So the bike, even though the seat height is tall for a street bike, again probably due to the V engine and the way how the frame arranged. So seat height is tall, pegs are quite high. But for me the main problem was the distance between the seat and the bars. Even though on that bike, and I checked it, the bars were moved forward. Like I could see like two positions and where you can put the screws through, like those holding the clamps, holding the handlebar, it's one on that bike. And also the clamps were moved to a forward facing position, so it's kind of farthest away from you already. But even in that case, like if I sit in the comfortable position for my ass per se and for my body, like the lower body, the handlebars are too close to me, so I'm sitting straight. Well, I maybe have long arms and long legs. My height is about 6 feet, so m85. But I'm sitting too close. I would like the bars to be further away, so I could lean forward. Instead, I'm sitting straight up. To lean forward, I need to move my body all the way back on the seat. But in that case, the seat is shaped like a banana. Like it's basically just like that. So the further away you move to the rear, when you need to either have very short legs to support your body, not just by the 2 points on your ass, but through like a meat on your legs, or you need to have like really fat ass for whatever reason, for that to be comfortable. So I cannot move comfortably my body back on the seat, but somewhere in the cushion where I can sit comfortably, the bars are too close. But even moving my ass all the way back on the seat, the sitting position is not sufficient. I would like it to be more aggressive. Why? Because this bike has no wind protection whatsoever. So you're all exposed to the wind, and when you're riding at a high speed, it blows you back with a big force. So you're holding two bars just to, not to be blown away. So if you would be leaning forward much more, that would be much easier because your body weight would compensate that wind force. So this is very stupid to me. I mean, why it's like that? It's very, for me, for my type of a body, it's very uncomfortable ride, I would say. Plus, it's kind of kicks you into the ass all the time on all the bumps, like boom, boom, and even on the bigger ones, it even kind of jumps. I have few jump like that, and it just doesn't. And the front seems to be like kind of still riding them through, but the rear just trying to kick you off. And this is not on rebound damping, on the compression. It's a high-speed compression is not quick enough. This is just crazy. And to be honest, I had a big hopes for this bike. It was like, ooh, look at that, super new car. Anyway, so that's regarding the ergonomics. Mirrors were alright, yeah, kind of alright-ish. Mirrors. The dashboard, well, it's okay. It's not too big, not too small. It's kind of alright, good enough, I guess. You can get whatever you wanna see usually while you're riding on it comfortably. What's next? Yeah, the frame between your legs is really narrow, so you can kind of like, hold the bike with your legs, and it has a nice lip above your legs, so going into the turns you have a good, like, a point to grip into with your leg. But still, it's too narrow for me. Actually, I would prefer it to be a little bit wider, so I don't need to put my legs like that. I would like to have them like a little bit like spread, if that is a good word. Just a little bit more. That would be more comfortable for me again. What's next? Alright. Yeah. The handling. So the handling partially is fucked up by this like extremely harsh suspension setup. Because it, as I said, it doesn't want to like play with you. The bike feels wooden. And the way how it steers, some bikes they want to be steered with a rear, and I kind of like that. Some bikes are kind of a forward, like or like a front wheel steering. So this one is kind of strange. Sometimes it seems like it wanna give you like steer it with the back, but when it just doesn't want it to do it anymore. And it's a lot of weight on the front wheel. So when I'm sitting in a comfortable position for my ass, I feel like a lot of, what the rear wheel is very far back, and all the weight is on the front. Again, I'm not sure if that is an optimal setup. At least this is how it feels. So I didn't put it on the scales, to weigh the front and the rear and see like is it 50-50 or whatever, or 70-30, but this is how it feels. Like it's a lot of weight on the front wheel. And for me, it doesn't feel right. I don't know. It's maybe specific, like a good reason for that, some science involved in it, but so on and so forth. It doesn't feel right to me. Like I've been riding a lot of bikes. I had two ZX12Rs and I had three R1s, different years, model years. I had a Roadster, actually very good street bike, to be honest, the old BMW 1150 Roadster. Yeah, many other bikes, like including this KTM you see here, 1290 Super Adventure R, BMW 1200 GS Adventure. I had many different ones, and maybe I didn't even remember them all now. Yeah, BMW S1000RR I had. I did about 26,000 kilometers on that one actually. And I've been like taking some bikes from my friends, like sometimes to ride, like Aprilia RSV4 I tried, some other things, just to see how they handle, like Honda CBR 1000. And so I can kind of get a feel of different, like I understand multiple, like because when you've been riding through like many different bikes, kind of get a feel what is good and what is bad, what works and what is not. So whatever is on that KTM 1290 Super Adventure R did not work for me very well. So I said feels like very front heavy. Steering is strange. It feels wooden with stock suspension settings, whatever stock wasn't there. So I didn't like it. Basically, that's my verdict. Like, I didn't like it. Regarding the handling, another thing is at a high speed, like really high speed. I cannot tell you which one, but at really high speed, it's not very stable. It's not like it's trying to destabilize you or something like that, but it doesn't feel like it's going like as it's supposed to. Like, it doesn't give you a comfortable feeling of what everything is fine. It's always like kind of like uncertain about the stability. Let's put it this way. And if you destabilize it at the high speed, like if you provoke it to go into like a little bit of a wobble, it doesn't really stops it by itself really quickly. So I think it's a lot of torsion, that would be right, maybe pronunciation in English, torsion bend, or how to say, torsion, insufficient torsion, the frame is not sufficiently strong against the torsion loads. So if you take something like that and you try to bend it, you know, like a torsion suspension does, like that. So frame is not strong enough in this specific direction. So when you move the bars, you can feel like the whole frame is kind of springing, and it's not allowing the bike to stabilize itself really quickly. So I think the frame is fucked up basically. And the same problem exists on this one, but this is not that sort of a bike, isn't it? So for this one is still kind of okay, but for a bike with such a big power and something that you may ride fast, I would prefer much more rigid frame, so it would not kind of play and spring back like that in a torsion, how to say, loads. Yeah, and I think that's a common problem. As I said, all these bikes, they have similar frames, not exactly the same, but similar. And I think the whole idea around it is missing something. It's missing some, maybe, I don't know, some additional like cross bars in there, so it would stop the frame from bending like this. Because with the wheels you have two gyros. The front wheel is a gyroscope and the rear wheel is a gyroscope. And this one, when you move forward, the front wheel, the gyroscope, the frame needs to put all this load now to the rear wheel, so to move the gyro of the rear wheel, let's say, to the direction of the front wheel. And this is where the frame springs to one side when it moves the rear wheel, and then it springs back a little bit because it still has this kind of instability, or let's say flex, which is excessive. It needs to have some, but this is too much on 1290 Super Duke car. To me, again, this is what I felt. Like on S1000RR, for example, S1000RR from BMW, you don't get that. I mean, it does what you ask it to do, and it's just completely stable. You just put it where you want it, and it's just fixed where, and it just goes through it. On the Yamaha R1, 2009, 10, whatever, up to, I didn't ride the newest one, which came in 15, I think. But before that, from 2009 to 2014, the frame is very stable. You feel like on a tank. You may get into a tank slapper over the bumps if you have a stock steering damper, but that is just the front, so it's nothing in the frame bending like that. It feels like it's just standing there and gives you comfort, but everything is fine. Maybe it's even just a little bit too rigid, but it gives you a good feel of comfort and trust to the bike. So on this one, you don't trust it. You always go and you just feel that frame is like not doesn't want to, you know, do exactly what you want it to do. Especially when you change your position like quickly, like turn on wheel quickly, you feel that through the frame, like few actuations before it kind of gets in. Yeah, so that's ergonomics and handling of 1290 Super Adventure R model. Sorry, Super Adventure, Super Duke car. I'm sorry, Super Duke car. This is what we're talking about, not Super Adventure, Super Duke. Okay, too many supers will blend together. Alright, so engine is very good, I think, for street bike. It's not enough to be competing, I think, with modern super sports, not at least with BMW or Kawasaki liter bikes. It's not there, not even close. But for fast street bike, it's more than enough. But I think taking into consideration ergonomics, handling, and the wind protection, which we're gonna talk about, engine gearing, I think is a little bit off. I think it needs to be geared to, let's say, lower speeds and more power to make it more fun at the lower speeds. Because right now our gearing is, I think, too long, and so when you ride it at the lower speeds, you don't get that, kind of a fun, nice broom broom. It pulls fine, it's quick, but it's not crazy quick, what you would expect from this bike. So I think like about maybe a bigger sprocket, about by 3 tooth or something like that, a bit longer chain, maybe it'll fix it. Make it more alive, per se. Because now let's go to wind protection, which is none. And because of a sitting position, well, again, for me it was quite straight. You cannot ride this bike comfortably at speeds more than 130 kilometers an hour. Just no freaking way. Wind just blows you away, and you need to lean uncomfortably, lean forward, and even in that case, I think the wind flow from the headlight, which is kind of tilted towards you, hits your helmet, and you end up, when you lean forward, you end up your helmet right in front of the dashboard. This is what I figure. It's not really. It's a really short distance where I don't know why. But for me it was really funny. Like driving at the higher speeds, like really high speeds, it's even worse. So it's just, you cannot drive it to the potential of the gearing it has. And that gearing would make sense, like a longer gearing would make sense on the bike which you use to travel, like to reduce your fuel consumptions on a powerful engine per se. But if you would be able to I don't know, cruise on it at 180 kilometers an hour, I would agree the gearing would be fine then. But you can't, because you will be blown away by the wind. So again, another miss to me. And even on a track, I don't imagine you riding it comfortably, track comfortably. And even through this suspension, I don't know, I would have, even through the track I would adjust it softer. Not just softer stupidly, but softer in a correct way. I think whoever tries, this is my prediction, I don't know, but this is my prediction. So whoever takes this bike on a track will go through piles of rear tires. This bike with this suspension setting is gonna just swallow rear tires one by one. Just shred them apart. This is what's gonna happen, I think. And because of the front suspension and how that front dive is not sufficient, I think, and a hard forks and the compression damping, or maybe oil level is not right, I think you may lose, if you disable ABS and you try to brake into the turn, turn on the brakes, enter the turn on the brakes, you may lose the front really easily, I think this is what may happen on this bike. This is just my prediction. I don't know, I didn't try it, but yeah, this is how it feels, what it would do. Anyway, so we covered the engine. So engine is really strong for fuel management, or so some people call it, fueling. The engine program in the ECU seems to be quite good. So it's controllable, you have good control over all this power. You just can adjust, the dosage of the power is very controllable, and I did really like it. It feels fine over engine braking, the engine, whatever is related to the engine, feels extremely good. except for gearing. Yeah, but it's not really an engine. That's probably just a rear sprocket too small. All right. So what else? Yeah, wind protection we covered. That we covered. So I don't know. What can I say about the bike? Like, what would you like? Would I buy one for myself? Like, what do I think about buying GT? Potentially, I think no, I'm not gonna do it. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. Even with a wind protection, this bike is no to me because of ergonomics. I wouldn't buy it. And I think, like somebody told me, I don't even know for sure what on the 2018 model it will be like electronic suspension, or was it a 19 model, whatever, the new one, new GT which is going to come out. It will be electronic suspension or electronically adjustable, whatever, with a brain. If KTM does what we do all the time, it will be fucked up. I wouldn't ride it. It's not good. KTM/WP. We need to rethink, I guess, again, probably the concept of what we're doing. Well, again, this is my opinion. You can say, oh, this is your, yeah, it's just my opinion. You may not listen to me and don't worry what I think. And be happy if you bought this bike already with how it wheels. If you disable traction control. And I think it's pretty much the only thing it does. For the rest, like, on the day-to-day, like going to work, let's say this is what street bike's supposed to be, like you go to drink some coffee with your friends, to meet with your friends, you're going to work maybe with it. I think 790, which I didn't like at all, is better bike than this one for that purpose. Because this one is stupidly powerful, but it doesn't handle that well. So I think with 790, you will be quicker in traffic. Just safer, quicker in the traffic than with this one. Yeah, so this is what I think. And important bit is like a fun factor. Like even this stupid thing I have right here, this Super Adventure R, it kind of provokes you to drive it, like, you know, push it harder and harder. It kind of asks for it. Just go, let's go this turn. Oh, we see that hill over there, just off-road, just let's go. Just kind of like a crazy good friend of yours, which is like always saying, let's do this stupid stuff, but I think, oh, maybe I shouldn't, and then you do it and you smile, you know, it's something like that. And that bike doesn't give you that feeling. It gives you a feeling of like wooden log which you're just trying to push through the corners. It doesn't give you any, it doesn't provoke you to do things. Like, it doesn't, like, when you open the throttle because of a good long gearing, it's just like, it doesn't like immediately like catapults you out. It's just like boom, it does that, but it's not like this boom, it should explode with sparks, you know. It doesn't do that. And the same is, it just doesn't handle very well. So it's just fucked up motorcycle. Oh, for some it may be great. I'm sorry, I don't want to hurt your feelings. You may like it. And again, with maybe suspension, some suspension work adjustment, I think you may fix some of its problems, but not all of them. For example, you cannot do much about the frame, about that, let's say, not I mean, how are you gonna battle with torsion problems with a frame? I just don't see any specific easy ways unless you wanna disassemble everything and, I don't know, put some rebars somewhere in the middle. That's a stupid idea. But yeah, this is what it needs actually. Alright. So would I buy a bike like that? One of my friends bought it actually. Not the R version, I think, just a normal one. And he's kind of happy with it, I don't know, for whatever reason. So maybe it's just different people, different opinions. I'm just trying to give you mine. That's it. I wouldn't buy that for myself. Because I think this Super Adventure R, it's more than that. It's actually a better bike overall. You can take it off-road, you can do crazy stuff on it. If you put like tires from the S model, you can ride it quite well on the road as well. Like throw it in the turns and so on and so forth. It's more comfortable, has wind protection, you can travel on it, go through the traffic quite well. I don't think much worse on that one. On that 1290 Super Duke. Obviously it's not that fast, but it's close. It's not that big of a difference, but you would need that difference all the time, every day in your life, per se. Like you can feel the difference between the GS Adventure and this one in power, for sure. Like sometimes you want that and it's not there on the GS Adventure. On this one it's kind of always where you need it. Especially if you gear it like to 45 teeth in the rear, and it gives you that kind of feeling of like total control. You can even play some music with exhaust note like boo 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 boo, and it's just going through. Well, if you have aftermarket exhaust open pipe on it. Yeah, so these are my thoughts. So to me 1290 Super Duke is not a good bike. I would say like that. It's not what I would consider to be a good bike. Yeah, any alternatives? I don't know. But if the stupid thing, like, even though yeah, I gave quite a negative review to 790, but if let's say devil would catch me and say you have this choice to like spend your life in hell with one of these two bikes, I give you 1290 Super Duke R or 790s R, whatever it is, like a street version. Whatever is it, Duke 790 or whatever it's fucked up names we have. I would choose 790 over that one, over 1290, because that is, it's not good, not a good bike, but it is at least kind of, for a fun factor, that is better. Somehow. It has all the problems as this one has. It has problems with suspension, it's not adjustable, but overall, like considering the power and like handling of it, that is better than this one, the 1290 Super Duke. Yeah. And of course this one I think is better than both of them. Much better. Taking account again what you can do with it and how it rides when correctly adjusted. Yeah, so that's my thoughts. Thank you very much for viewing this review. Hope you'll understand this is my opinion. Again, not paid by anyone, just purely saying what I think. Sorry if it was too boring. I'll try to keep it shorter next time, but it's a lot of things to say, a lot of thoughts coming while you're speaking. I have no script, not reading any script, just saying what is in my head. As always, impressions from, let's say, riding that bike. Thanks a lot again and have a great day. Bye bye.